Hello friends, my name is Ayush Singh. I welcome you all in this presentation in which I am going to explain about the basics of linear systems in signal processing. And we will also talk about one very important property related to linear systems, that is convolution. The main objective of this presentation is to give a basic intuition about the topic which will be helpful for the students who are aspiring to explore deep into the subject. So let us get started. First, let us try to understand what are linear systems. Yes. In signal processing, we often encounter this question. We are provided with a particular input signal and we have to predict the nature of the output of that particular signal. So the concept of linearity actually helps us to achieve this task very elegantly, provided that we already know the output of some other particular input signal. So systems that follow the law of superposition are said to be linear in nature. Now what is law of superposition? This law of superposition, it consists of two laws, the law of additivity and law of homogeneity. So let us study what are actually these laws. Okay, so let us consider that we have a system and we are provided with two discrete time input signals x1n and x2n. Now if we provide the input of x1n to the system, then it produces an output of y1n, and if we provide input of x2n, then it produces an output of y2n. Now, if we provide an input of x1n plus x2n, and if the system produces an output y1n plus y2n, then we say that the system is following the law of additivity. For example, let us say that we have an ohmic circuit, that is just a combination of a voltage and a resistor. So when we apply a voltage of V1 across the resistor, it gives a current of magnitude I. And if we provide with it with a voltage of V2, then it gives a current of I2. And now if we provide an input of V1 plus V2 voltage across the resistor, it gives a current of I1 plus I2. That means that ohmic circuit is following the law of additivity. And now let us talk about law of homogeneity. So say we have an input xn and the system is producing an output yn. Now if we have an input of k times x1 xn provided to the system, and if it produces an output of k times yn, then we say that the system follows the law of homogeneity. For example, the ohmic circuit, if we provide a voltage of V across the resistor, it gives a current of magnitude I, which is related by the Ohm's law, V equals to IR. And now if we provide the voltage K times V across the resistor, then according to Ohm's law, it gives the current K times I, which proves that this ohmic circuit also follows the law of homogeneity. And now if a system follows both these laws, then we say that the system is actually linear in nature. So the ohmic circuit is linear in nature. So now that we have understood the basics of linear systems, we now move on to understand what is convolution. That is also a very important property related to linear systems. Before understanding convolution, we need to know one basic term, that is a system's unit impulse response. So let us suppose we have a system. Now we have a special function called the impulse function. I will later talk about the impulse function in detail further in this presentation. So when we provide this impulse function as an input to a system, the output that it produces is called the system's unit impulse response. Now based on this impulse response, we can calculate the output of any particular signal, and the operator that is helpful in doing this is called convolution. So convolution is just an operator that returns an output signal of a particular input signal. So how does actually convolution do this? We will see the basic idea behind convolution. The basic idea behind convolution is that we are going to exploit the system's response to a simple input signal, and on the basis of that we are going to calculate the output of a more complex signal. This we are going to achieve by the property of linear systems, that is superposition. Again we can see that how linearity is so important in building the concept of convolution. So we have the superposition property of the linear systems. Now let us say that we have a complex particular input signal xn. Now from the by the superposition property we can decompose this signal into smaller simple input signals that are x1n, x2n, x3n, and the output of that simple input signals we can already easily calculate. The output, let us say that we have y1n, y2 and y3. So for the complex input signal xn, the output yn can also be expressed as the linear combinations of these simple output signals. Again, by the help of the superposition property of linear systems, we are able to determine this. But now the question arises that how we are going to find these simple components that are x1n, x2n, x3n and so on. So in order to find out these, we have a very special function called the impulse function. This impulse function can be used to express almost any complex signal into smaller, simpler and simpler input signals. So let us study in detail about this impulse signal. So impulse function is a function which is zero everywhere except at the origin where it is infinitely high. The area of this function is 1, which is why this function is also known as unit impulse function. Let us consider a simple illustration in order to explain in better detail about this impulse function. So let us consider a series of rectangular pulses, each having area unity. Now the bottommost pulse, this also has area unity. Now suppose that we decrease the width of this pulse in order that the area remains same, that is unity. So even obviously the height will have to increase in order that the area remains same. So if we decrease the width to a negligible amount, then eventually this function, this height will rise to infinity. So this limiting value of this function is actually the impulse function. And in this way we can also understand how the area is unity. Now we are going to look at a very important property of this impulse function which will be very helpful in building the concept of convolution. So now we have a very useful property of the impulse function called the shifting property. Using this property, we can express almost any signal in terms of the impulse function. So in general, any discrete signal can be expressed as a linear combinations of a set of infinite time impulses. So this is the shifting property and it is very useful in order to express any signal, discrete time signal in terms of this impulse function. So we have already seen that the superposition property of linear systems, by the help of that we can express almost any signal as a linear combinations of simpler and simpler components, and by the help of the shifting property of this impulse function we are able to conclude that these simpler components are nothing but actually the infinite set of discrete time impulses. Now we already know that the output of the impulse function provided to any system is called that system's unit impulse response, which is by default denoted by h of n. So combining these two equations, we get the discrete time convolution formula, which says that the output of a complex signal x of n is nothing but the linear combination of the output of these simpler components, that is the system's unit impulse response. So this equation right over here is called the discrete time convolution formula. Now we have already seen that we can determine any input signal in terms of the impulse function, and therefore we can measure the behavior of any LTI system by measuring the system's unit impulse response. So by the help of this knowledge, we are going to predict the behavior of linear time variant systems and linear time invariant systems. So let us first consider the case of linear time variant systems. Now we are providing the system with a series of discrete time impulses which are time shifted versions of each other. But since the system is time variant, so the output of these impulses will not be the time shifted versions of each other. And therefore we represent each of these impulses output as h of kn. So from the shifting property that we have already seen of the impulse function, we can express a complex signal x of n by the linear combinations of these impulse responses, and by the discrete time convolution formula we can also calculate, we know the output of these impulses as h of kn. So the final discrete time convolution formula for the output becomes the equation that is written right over here. Now let us consider the case of linear time invariant systems. So since the system is time invariant, So the output of the impulses will be time shifted versions of each other. So the output h of kn we can write here as h naught of n minus k, where this zero subscript is nothing but actually denotes the value of the impulse at t equal to 0. So since the system is time invariant, so the output of these impulses will also be the time shifted versions of each other. And now therefore the convolution sum, the discrete time convolution formula here becomes this formula that is written right over here. So let us summarize what we have learned so far. First of all, we have studied about the linear systems and the properties of linear systems, and we also have talked about one of the very important properties of linear systems, that is convolution. We saw the basic idea behind convolution was that we were going to exploit a simple input signal, and on the basis of that we were going to use that response in order to calculate the response of a more complex signal. So we also saw one very useful function which helps us to achieve this task, which was the impulse function. And then we saw a useful property of the impulse function called the shifting property, by the help of which we can express any signal in terms of a set of discrete time impulses. Later on, we went to predict the behavior of linear time invariant systems and linear time variant systems on the basis of the knowledge we have thus, so far acquired. So this was all in this presentation. I just gave a basic intuition about linear systems and convolution. So I hope this presentation was very beneficial to all the students. So if you have any doubts, then please comment down. Thank you.